There's always been something comforting for me about simple, pick up and play sports games, especially those with a colorful, cartoony graphical style and that familiar 3-button click system. But I'll be honest, I never cared much for golf growing up. It really wasn't until my dad bought me a copy of Hot Shots Golf 3 on the PlayStation 2 that something clicked. What started as a game he and I would casually play on the weekends would evolve into something we played daily and has since become one of my absolute favorite video game franchises. But hello everyone and welcome back to another video. At the time of recording, we are just a few short weeks away from a brand new Hot Shots game being released, Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. So ahead of that game's release, I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do a retrospective of sorts of one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. We're going to take a look at why I fell in love with the series back on the PlayStation 2, share some deeply personal memories playing this game with my dad. We're also going to take a look at the entirety, the history of this series to kind of give you a behind the curtain look at when this series got its debut on the PlayStation 1. And then at the tail end, I want to recommend some of my favorite games in the series, whether you are a newcomer, not a fan of arcadey golf games or sports games at all. I think there are Hot Shots games for everyone. Again, even if you're not traditionally a fan of sports games. So my hope coming away from this video is that you consider checking out one of my favorite series. And if you're already a longtime fan of the Hot Shots games, leave me a comment down below. Where did you first start playing Hot Shots? What is your favorite game in the series? What are some of your favorite memories playing them? Without further ado, let's get started. Now, before we dive into my personal history with the series, I think it's first worth taking a quick look back on the Hot Shots series' humble beginnings, first releasing on the PlayStation 1 back in 1997, where it was actually known as Everybody's Golf in Japan and Hot Shots Golf here in the West in North America. But what's interesting to note is that the first game was developed by Camelot, who would go on to make the Mario Golf games for Nintendo. So you have to wonder if this would have turned into more of an RPG golf series for PlayStation had they continued to make the games. Just take a listen to this music at the menu screen though. If you've played the Mario Golf games on the N64 or GameCube, you know how great those soundtracks are, and Camelot nailed it with the original Hot Shots Golf music as well. As the later games would end up building upon though, you have the ability to play tournaments in Hot Shots 1, unlock new characters, or just play practice rounds solo. Truthfully, the button press timing is much more delayed in this one, so it does take some getting used to. Thankfully, if you're playing on the PS Classics on PS4 or 5, there is a rewind feature, which I may or may not make use of quite a bit, but it is still a ton of fun nonetheless. Hot Shots Golf 2 was released a few years later in 1999, and it wasn't much of a departure from the first game, with largely the same graphical style, but the controls were certainly a bit more refined. What does make this sequel stand out though, is that you could actually play as some of the popular PlayStation characters at the time, like Sir Dan from Medieval, Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal, and even Gex from that classic platformer series. If you grew up playing Hot Shots 2, I have to imagine that would have been a nice surprise for fans of those games. But where I really fell in love with the series was when my dad bought me a copy of Hot Shots 3, which released in 2002. To me, this is where the series' personality began to truly shine. You had 15 goofy characters to play as, many of which you had to unlock during match play, but you also had these trash-talking caddies that became a signature part of the gameplay. If you made a bad shot, they let you know about it. You played well, they complimented your game. So many of them also just had some really clever and often laugh-out-loud one-liners.
That was an excellent vector. The probability of hitting that is 0.
Now, Hot Shots 4 would end up being a bit more of the same as the third game, though there was a mini golf mode that was pretty fantastic. You had 24 characters in this entry, 15 courses, 10 of which were entirely new, and ultimately just continued to deliver that classic arcade charm. When capturing footage though, something I had completely forgotten about with these games was the transition sequences after a tournament or a game of match play. It would often be kind of a scenic view of a sunset, or in the instance of the 5th game, Out of Bounds on the PS3, there were these ambient ocean sequences. They were super brief, but a neat little serenity moment after a round of golf that I really loved. Speaking of the 5th game though, I was a really late adopter of the PlayStation 3, so I was always on the outside looking in when it came to Hot Shots Golf 5 Out of Bounds. And truthfully, early on during the PlayStation 3's life cycle, it was one of the primary reasons I wanted the console, but I was a 360 owner and there just wasn't enough games to justify the system purchase because, if you remember, the PlayStation 3 was pretty pricey around launch. But for the purposes of this video, I got a copy and I played it for a few hours, and it's exactly what I would have hoped for. More Hot Shots with better looking graphics, and they even added more of a different physics engine to swinging the club that I never really paid much attention to when capturing footage. I still just love that traditional 3-button click system, but a unique take in kind of mixing up the formula for sure. Now, I wasn't able to capture any footage of World Invitational, which came out exclusively on the PlayStation Vita here in the West, but also released on PS3 in Japan. Similar to the PSP Hot Shots games, which you'll be talking quite a bit about later in the video, it's always a treat to have some Hot Shots on the go. World Invitational was no exception. Without a doubt, one of my most played games on the Vita, still very affordable, and an immediate recommendation for anyone looking to expand their Vita library. Lastly, we have Everybody's Golf, which released in 2017. And after not being able to play a console Hot Shots game in over a decade, I was thrilled being a late adopter to the PlayStation 4 when I was able to get another entry on the system. What was unique about Everybody's Golf, though, was the ability to create your own character. As you play rounds and earn more money, you'll be able to unlock plenty of clothes, accessory, and clubs that you can then purchase to outfit your created character. There was even a fun hub area to run around in between matches where you can interact with other NPCs, ride a golf cart, and even fish. Easily one of my most played PS4 games, very cheap nowadays, and probably the most accessible and best jumping on point to the series for folks outside of the upcoming new game. It's also worth mentioning that a few years after Everybody's Golf released, a VR version came out, and it's exactly what you could expect. More of the 3-button click system, but playing in VR, and it's a ton of fun. Now that is just a brief history of the series. You of course have Open T 1 and 2 on the PSP. We'll be talking about that here shortly. You also have Hot Shots Tennis, which released on the PS2 and the PSP. That's a lot of fun, similar graphical style, similar gameplay mechanics, but you're just playing tennis instead of golf. But now I want to kind of dive into why this series is so personal to me, why it's become one of my favorite kind of go-to comfort food gaming franchises. And it really kind of dates back to the PlayStation 2, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, when my dad got me a copy of Hot Shots 3 specifically, but eventually Hot Shots Golf 4 as well. And it's important to understand that my dad is not a gamer. He had an NES growing up, and eventually he got me a Game Boy Color for Christmas, N64, the PS2, but he never really did much gaming himself. And it wasn't until Hot Shots that he became, I would say, borderline obsessed with this game. Anytime I came home from school, he was downstairs playing this game. Anytime on the weekend when we had free time and we weren't doing something together or as a family, he was playing Hot Shots 3 to the point where it was like difficult for me to even get time playing the console myself and with my friends growing up. But thankfully it was also something that we would often do together. My dad was never protective of the console or the profile. All of the save files were kind of shared between the two of us, and we were never too competitive about it either. It was one of those things where we would sit downstairs in the basement playing this game, pass the controller after each hole. So he would play a hole, I would play one. Whether it was a tournament or match play trying to unlock a new character, it was just a real bonding moment for my dad and I, similar to when we would play Madden 2003, and he would call the plays, but I would execute the plays while actually kind of playing the game and using the controller. So something that, again, is something I look back on very fondly with my dad, and I'm just so thankful that Hot Shots was that game that kind of bonded us, but also got my dad to pick up the controller, because I don't know about anyone else out there, both of my parents are really just not gamers themselves. I wish they would dabble in gaming more, because I do think there's a lot out there that they would enjoy if they gave those types of games a chance. But Hot Shots, growing up, was that game that got my dad to pick up the controller. He really enjoyed it, but we did not stop at Hot Shots Golf 3. There's not much to say about Hot Shots Golf 4 when it comes to my dad playing it about as much and as often as he did the third game, but this game, similar from like 1 to 2, refined the controls, more characters, more courses, more trash-talking caddies, and yeah, probably between 3 and 4, my favorites in the series looking back on the PlayStation 2. Where things really changed, though, is when I got Hot Shots Golf Open Tee on the PSP. And for a long while, I played it, I enjoyed it. Occasionally, I would be like, hey, Dad, remember Hot Shots on the PS2? Give this a try. This is essentially the same game, portably, on the go. You get to unlock all kinds of fun little character outfits and accessories and things like that. And he enjoyed it for what it was for a brief time. And then eventually, more often than not, I'd come home from school. He was no longer downstairs playing on the PS2. He was playing my PSP, and he was playing Hot Shots Golf Open Tee. And it got to the point where he was playing so often, when I wanted to play the PSP, that I said, Dad, you've got to get a PSP of your own, because I can't do this anymore. I want to play my PSP. I bought this console myself. It was not gifted to me. He did not purchase it for me. I purchased it with my hard-earned money. And so I said, Dad, you've got to get one yourself. And I swear to you, I wish I would have captured this on camera when I was a kid. He said, let's get in the car. We're going to the mall. We're going to GameStop, and I'm getting a PSP myself. That day, I kid you not, we went to GameStop. He got a PSP, and he got a copy of Hot Shots Golf Open Tee. And the rest is history. At that point, we were playing ad hoc co-op. We were playing against each other. He was trying to get further in tournaments more quickly than I was, and that's when it became more competitive. And it was just, again, such a fun time. It's similar to like when my wife very seldomly will get super locked into a game on the Switch or the PS4, whatever it might be. And I don't know, it just gives me kind of a sense of pride that like I helped kind of steer one of my family members to a game or a console that they just fell in love with and got genuine joy and enjoyment out of. And that was Hot Shots Golf, really as a series for my dad. But I think Open Tee on the PSP was really what kind of sent my dad down a rabbit hole. And again, I just got a lot of pride and enjoyment out of seeing him enjoy gaming as much as he did with this series. And more than that it actually bonded us. It was something that we enjoyed together. But to round out the video, I want to call out specific things that I love about these different entries in hopes of kind of recommending or steering folks to a particular game in the series if you've never played a Hot Shots game before, or maybe it's been well over a decade since you've played a Hot Shots golf game. Now, it would make a lot of sense. Just jump on to Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, releasing on all gaming platforms, coming September 5th at a $40 price tag, so it's not too expensive, a decent kind of budget entry price. I have my reservations about the new one though, because it's not developed by Clap Hands, it's published by Bandai Namco. However, I have my reservations about the new one because it's releasing at that $40 price tag, and graphically speaking, the character models, there's just seems to be a level of unpolish with the game, its color palette, and just the level of detail that I would expect to see in a Hot Shots game releasing in 2025. So bear that in mind, maybe wait for review scores before pre-ordering or buying that game. But talking about Hot Shots 3 and 4 specifically, if you have a PS2 handy and it's not too inconvenient for you to hook up your PlayStation 2, the one thing I absolutely loved going back and recording footage for these games that I was reminded of is just unlocking new characters. Simple game interface, it's not clunky. Unlike Everybody's Golf, there's not like an open world hub that's just busy with its gameplay mechanics and menu navigation. This is ultra simplified, for the PS2, you're really just, hey, how do I get to that next tournament? How do I unlock that next character? And as you're using characters of your own, one of the most addicting aspects of these games is the character loyalty system. Your character levels up. As they level up, there's different experience points related to your game, like the accuracy, how far you can hit the ball, how much spin you can put on the ball. Like if you get into that kind of game within the game, there are some very light RPG mechanics that as you're grinding out these different characters, it's just fun to kind of see that character progression the more you use each of your characters. So 3 and 4 are still probably my favorites in the series. Nostalgia plays a heavy role into that, but if you don't have a PS2 easily accessible and you want to play Hot Shots on the go, I think World Invitational is the way to go. I think you can get this game for probably $20 or less on eBay for a complete copy. It is more of that classic Hot Shots Golf gameplay. The 3-button click system is front and center. You can unlock new characters, play a ton of tournaments, and again, not many PlayStation Vita games you can say you can buy affordably nowadays, but thankfully World Invitational is one of those titles. So if you're looking to golf on the go, World Invitational might be the game for you. Other very affordable and convenient games to play: Everybody's Golf on PS4 and the VR title. The one thing I'll say about Everybody's Golf that probably won't be for everyone is you do have this open hub that acts as kind of the way to facilitate tournaments or get into match play, or you can go fishing in this little hub area. There's just a lot going on. If you're looking for just quick pick up and play golf, this one might not be the game for you, but I think there are some fun, new, fresh gameplay mechanics that might be fun and exciting for folks if you're into fishing and, again, kind of more of that open environment to run around in and ride your golf cart. If you have PlayStation VR, one, absolutely worth picking up Everybody's Golf for that. Very inexpensive and just a really nice way to play that 3-button click system via VR. But the last game I'll highlight, I don't have a physical copy of because it released digital only. Originally a mobile title. When Clap Hands kind of stopped developing Hot Shots Golf games for PlayStation, they made a mobile game called Easy Come, Easy Golf. That was later ported to the Nintendo Switch. It is $20 on the eShop, and it is an absolute blast. One of my most played games last year when I discovered it. If you want to hold off on Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, Easy Come, Easy Golf is definitely the way to go if you are a Switch owner. It's more of that classic 3-button click system, but where it is a little bit different and interesting is each hole, whether you're playing against a character to unlock them or you're playing a tournament, each hole is played by a different character. So the more characters you unlock, the better characters you have in your party or inventory to basically play tournaments with. So it is almost like a little bit of a JRPG party of characters that at the end of the tournament, each of them are accumulating experience points with accuracy, ball distance, things like that. So the more you use those characters, similar to those earlier Hot Shots Golf games, they become better, stronger, and more desirable to use in your future tournaments. But the last thing I'll say about any of these games and why I've been coming back for 20 plus years with this series is just how easy to pick up and play for short bursts these games are. The learning curves are not too steep. If you know that you're not equipped to play games like Tiger Woods, PGA Tour, things like that, or NBA 2K, Madden, whatever it might be, I think these games are very accessible for people that don't even like golf, that do not like sports games. And the addictive nature of just jumping into a tournament and how quickly you become accustomed to the controls and understanding how, with the wind movement and ball trajectory, like where you need to position your shots to get on the green and more consistently make putts, is just such an absolute blast. And for someone like myself that as a father tends to only have maybe 30 minutes here and there to play games nowadays, I know I can always rely on the Hot Shots Golf series for just satisfying, fulfilling, pick up and play gaming. And that's why I'm so excited for Everybody's Golf Hot Shots to have yet another game in the series to play and enjoy, and I'll be able to play it online with friends. But that is a wrap, everyone. That is why I love the Hot Shots Golf games. A brief history of the series. But more than anything, hopefully I brought attention to specific games that are of interest to you, and you were looking forward to picking up and playing a Hot Shots golf game, whether it's the new one or dating back to the PlayStation 2 or even on the Vita. Let me know in the comment section below once again, what are your favorite games in this series? Have you never played a game but now you're looking forward to playing one? I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. And if you enjoy retrospective series reviews like this, let me know. I'd love to do more of them in the future. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.